Speak up.
First of all, welcome to Montana. Isn't this a phenomenal stand right here behind me? Isn't that just amazing? You know, forests and 8 feet tall, hitting 12 feet tall. So obviously, like Morgan mentioned before, we're in a historic drought, heat wave, and we don't see them right now, but there's grasshopper pressure out the roof in this country. Farmers, ranchers are selling off their herds left and right. Hay is almost impossible to come by. They're baling up CRP, anything green, they're cutting right now in Montana, baling it to save it for their cattle, because it's incredible what we're experiencing right now. So, anyways, a little bit of background on this farm. This is Hardy O'Hara, Hardy Heath, Mike O'Hara. Some of you local Montanans know them. Mike is actually head of, what is it, the Montana Wheat and Barley Commission?
Yep.
So he travels all around the world selling Montana barley malt. This is his 3rd year growing hemp with IND Hemp, and last year he got wrecked by hoppers too. He's been keeping ahead of it on his conventional, of course, but they're committed. These are partners. We have some of the best farmers in America, in my opinion. They go through the ringer and they say we're going to come back and do it again next year, and they want to see this market take off for them. So, been great partners. This is a 250 acre test trial, essentially. We're testing a number of different, 3 different fiber varieties and 2 different grain varieties. But we're also looking at nutrition, we're looking at seeding rate, and a couple other variables. So we're not obviously going to walk this whole field, but the 2 passes around this perimeter is Jinma. I'm sure anybody heard of Jinma. It's one of the more popular, well-known Chinese varieties. So this is Jinma here. There's 2 passes. He did this 2 outside rounds. He did that so that when grasshoppers did move in, he could hit the outside perimeter without having to spray the grain crop itself. So we really appreciate what he did here. He did seed at high levels, 60 pounds an acre, along this perimeter to match what they're doing in Asia for the bast fiber market. So we really appreciate what he did. Of course, the height you're seeing here is not okay. It's not normal. It's not okay. Last year on our production, it was 5 to 6 feet tall. Some areas were actually reaching 8 feet tall by this time last year. So you can kind of see that heat stress, that drought stress visually. It's still holding in. If it gets a rain, it's going to take that and jump. But who knows when that rain's going to come? And August and July are our driest months of the year. So,
what's your average rainfall?
Average rainfall out here's I was just telling Tanya in the van, an average Montanan year is almost impossible, but is around 11 inches of precipitation.
So was last year average for you guys? So
we were above average in some areas, below average in others. It was a very decent year though.
So this Jinma was growing with about 11 inches of rain?
Yes, in fact it would have been 6 feet tall with only 2 inches of in-season precipitation.
Is that right?
Yeah.
But do you have any idea how much, you guys have some underground moisture from the snow during the winter?
That was our biggest issue this year. We didn't have any snow.
You did not.
That's right.
And so that's why
that's one reason why we're seeing this.
Yep. In fact, what's crazy is last week I was up at an organic farm, Velikas Farms. Doug Crabtree, I was hoping he'd be here today. Phenomenal operation. And they're organic. And their Jinma is this tall right now. Because they fallowed it the year before. They had a year of rainfall accumulated in the soil profile, whereas this was taken out of a hay crop essentially.
And most people have probably heard of Gabe Brown and his regenerative farming approach to doing things. I think that has from our farmers' perspective, that's something they're trying to figure out how to get their arms around, because we don't have a lot of organic material in our soils. We've been big on hitting it with pesticides and herbicides, coming back and giving it some fertilizer and calling it good, right? But it's been real hard on our soils over the last 40 years of doing that. So somehow we got to make a change to do that, because we don't get enough moisture. The carbon in the soil helps retain that moisture, so we're trying to figure that out, and all the farmers are trying to do something different. So I'm sure the folks in Texas, same thing.
Is there any no-till operations out here?
Yeah, yep. In fact, this is a no-till farm here. And Montanan farmers, they found out no-till actually affects their bank account even. The first couple years are hard, but once you get into that cycle and that system, your soil quality goes up so much. Your organic matter builds, which then builds your moisture retention. No-till is king here in Montana. So we really do value that. I think, you know, if you guys are okay with it, we'll take a walk out into the field a little bit, if you'd like. We started with Jinma, 2 passes. We then went to IH Williams, which is a IND hemp fiber variety that we're testing, that we're seeing how it fits here. We're testing seeding rate too. 2 passes of IH Williams, 2 passes of Yuma. These are all Chinese germplasm. And then we get to here, Jinma here. Monoecious grain variety starts right there, and that's Hinola. That's a monoecious, which I'm sure all of you know what dioecious and monoecious, the difference there. Dioecious is you got male and female plants. Monoecious, every plant is set seed, and so male and female on the same plant. And then X59 on the far end. You can kind of see here, we're not limited by nutrition. You can see some yellow patches. Our grower took a pass through the field and ended up sprinkling fertilizer on top on accident. But you can see the height is pretty much the same. The dark green means good nutrition in general. Light green means nitrogen deprived for the most part. But what we're lacking isn't fertilizer, it's water. So again, Jinma, we're not even beginning to flower. It's still complete vegetative stage. It's just waiting for rain. We should see it flowering here in the next 2 weeks.
You know, Tillery, you were mentioning Jinma. We were in a field just southern Montana last week, and it's under irrigation, and it's 10 and 12 feet tall. So it does well up here if you get
Ours got, like, we had a half an inch of rain all season on it, and I couldn't even believe it was still living. I mean, it looked horrible, but it was still alive.
Yeah.
And that's X9 on the other side, right?
Yeah, so any questions on dryland fiber or irrigated fiber? We're going to see a better fiber field, I promise. We started you off with the worst one. So
When do you plant, man?
when do we plant?
When did this get planted?
This was planted May 16th. We would have rather, you know, hindsight's 2020. We would have rather plant end of April. So our approach here is, as soon as our soil temperatures hit 50 degrees and our frost outlook is pretty good, if your 15-day forecast shows above mid-20s, at least for the lows, we go for it. And we've proven that this year. Everything planted early is actually doing a bit better.
And I think we all know farming is one of those things that every year is different, right? Like we can all say like this is the magic formula for this year, but then like next year's gonna have its own issues and challenges. I think one thing we really wanted to highlight here too is just like genetics. We all know is something that our industry like really has to hone in on. That's just the immaturity of it, right? Like it's no one's fault or whatnot. I mean, like we're competing with commodities that have had genetics worked on it for decades, right? And so it's gonna take some time to get there, but we recognize the real value of that, and not only like timing and when we plant, nutrition. Montana's like a really diverse state too. So we've got some growers that are right on the Front Range, just west of Great Falls. Their precipitation, their temperatures are much different than our guys on the east side of the state. And so we have a really diverse kind of platform to work off of to do a lot of these test pilots. And Ben's collecting data as best he can. You know, I'm really looking forward to 5 years from now and all of the data collection we're going to get from all of these fields. So we're doing our best. It's a big job ahead of us, and Andy's been really helpful this year too. So if you guys have any questions or insight on some of these things, like we're an open book. And really excited to see some results. Even though it's depressing to look at, this is a data point that we really needed.
In fact, approach we might take this season is if our summer extends into fall, we might be harvesting grain off of a Jinma crop. You know, we're open to, we stay as flexible as we can. You know, build that whole picture from the ground up. We might make things fit very unconventionally, and we're willing to try that out.